All right. This is a very unexpected video, live today. I did announce, that I was going to be doing a live video or doing a video on SUI, and I decided I'd just do a live video on it. That way, I'm not sitting here trying to, be Miss Perfectionist and all of my, my bloopers. I get upset with it and I go back and forth, and this video will never get done if I don't do that. So all right. Anyway, is it time to buy Sui? That is the big question right now. Is it time to buy Sui? Because Sui has not been performing like this. You haven't been getting this right here lately. You've been getting this right here, and you can already tell right now, just based off of this right here, it looks like something that's going to get a drop, right? So we do have some sort of a rising formation here. Now on this is the weekly time frame. So on this weekly time frame, SUI is currently sitting below any positive momentum, and we're rejecting from that level right now. So if we look at, let's see, this here and here and here. All right, this can give you can draw this line differently. I drew this off of the 4 hour time frame. I just show you how I did that while I'm talking. Um, so here off the 4 hour time frame, I just did it based on a line bias. So you can see that's how I put it in here. But we are sitting below positive momentum right now on that weekly time frame, and we got to bounce directly off of that golden pocket. So I'm just going to turn all of these on because I'm going to share something with you on here as well. So put this back here. You can see how we got a direct bounce off of the top side here of the 0.618 here. So the golden pocket region right here is where we got the bounce from. Now, the last two corrections that we got on SUI, you can see how it actually dropped in and came closer to its 786. So this is going to be kind of odd for it right in here to just bounce directly off of that 618. And let's see this actual low here. Yeah, basically bouncing clean off of that 618. That's not what it did the last two times. So that tells me there's probably going to be some unfinished business in here for SUI, and we're probably going to see a continuation down first before we actually see a nice break to the upside, as in reclaiming these highs in here. There is a faster line break in here as well, but price is consolidating in a larger formation here. So you have this wedgie or rising structure in here. So this rising formation, when I'm looking at this rising formation here, and I'm looking at the fact that we still have room to come into this golden pocket 786 region, we could end up breaking this trend line this time. And something I'm pairing that with right now is going to be the Bollinger. So here on the weekly time frame, I am seeing the low cloud rise here, and typically when that happens, that indicates that there is some more selling pressure in the market, and we're likely to see prices drop into I'm going to be using my dynamic Bollinger Cloud here for this right here, and not the standard Bollinger Bands in here. But you can see how in here, you can see how the low in here starts to rise in here. That leads to price action getting a further push to the downside here. And then you can see it again in here where you see price action. Well, the low in here start to rise in here. That indicates that there's going to be some sort of a more selling pressure is going to come into the market. And you put that together and you look at this rising formation in here, and where we got the bounce from here at the 618 instead of coming in like we did the last two times. It's a little bit of unfinished business in my opinion. So I personally bought some SUI the other day, even though I know that there is a chance that we're going to see prices drop lower. And it's not just this weekly time frame. It's also, if I take a look here at the 3-week time frame, you can see this is actually the first rise that we've that this has ever gotten, SUI's ever gotten. And you can see every other time it bounced off of the 20 SMA in here. So I'm just going to turn that off for a sec. I'm going to put on the regular Bollinger Bands here because I don't have the other one configured to show any differently. But here you can see how we bounced off of the 20 SMA. But when you have a rise like this, that means this time you're not safeguarded by the 20 SMA. You're more than likely to slip through that 20 SMA. And it's not a matter of if that's going to happen, it's when it happens. That's going to be the thing. It's going to be when it happens. Because this time, I don't believe we're going to get that bounce off this 20 SMA, and we're actually going to slip through. And where would I be looking for price to come back to? Well, something that price has done. You can also see the squeeze in here right now, again, with this rising here on SUI. One thing that I have noticed that has been pretty consistent with it is when I put this one on. So each time you at least drop back into the dynamic cloud, whether it just be tapping into the top side like we did here. This was where we slipped the 20 SMA in here, tapping into the top side in here, or pushing in a little bit deeper. But each time in here, that is what happened. So you got the rise in here, you got the drop, you came back into the low of the cloud in here. You got the rise in here, you got the drop, you came back into the cloud. You're getting a rise in here. So I expect for price to come back somewhere in between this 269 and this 210. That's what I'm going to be looking for. And if we start to expand, because we did get a small expansion each time in here, we start to expand, and I'm going to be looking for prices to hit somewhere between $1.94 to $1.65. And those are just my my weekly levels in here. So when I'm looking at my weekly levels, these are the 3 points of interest that I have in here. And so my first zone is going to be this one, which is this 262. My second zone is going to be the 228 to the 219, and then the 194 to the 165. That's going to be my range. Now I like to stop right in here. I would like to stop here at 219. But just in case we do start to get a little bit of an expansion, then this looks like it would be a great place for price to come back to. You take a look at the support in here. This is going to be your greatest support level right across here, 194 to 165. Your greatest support level here. Now I'm going to move out to the daily chart real quick. All right, so out here on the daily chart, I'm just going to put these two on right here. I'm going to drop these fibs for now. Really have to have that on right now. And we're going to look at this formation in here. And I also have a faster trend line break in here. So it looks like we do have like some sort of a corrective structure in here. The only issues I'm seeing with the corrective structure right now on this daily time frame is going to be the bear divs. So this little bear flaggy situation that we have going on right here, we actually have bear divs on that, which makes for a great rejection here at this point, here at the top side of this trend line here. So let me turn all of this noise on right here for you and just kind of examine some things in here. So you did have a little bit of bullish divvies in here for SUI that gave us the push up, but you can see here with this rise, we're nowhere above this point in here. We're nowhere above this point in here, but we're above it over here. And you can see the difference. Now, when SUI tends to do that, you don't get a good breakout. You fail with your breakouts. And the last time I saw that in here with SUI is over here. So because I've mentioned this squeeze here that's starting to develop here on this daily time frame. So on the daily is going to give us a bounce. It is a matter of when that bounce happens, because I think we could, if we get a breakout now to the upside, I do have a measured target in here. So this first line you're seeing in here, this is actually where we're below the momentum and rejecting. This one here is in the event that price actually does get a breakup. I wouldn't see it being able to do any more than that. And if you know one thing about me, unless there's some bull crap happening in the market, you know, when I tell you that something should not do something beyond a certain point, I'm usually on point with that. So 392 and some change, 392, give or take, however you want to do that, we should not see SUI pushing beyond this point, because this is a level of resistance, a clear level of resistance that I'm seeing on the weekly time frame. So if we do push up, We need to be checking for bearish divergence on that push up, so we're not getting all, all this hopium that we're coming back up to here or something. This looks like where we cap out. And this is why I use the 4-hour line chart to draw out this line instead of using the daily line chart. I wanted to make sure I had some sort of some more confluence to this area in here, but the weekly chart does show that we should cap out here if we do manage to see some sort of a push up. But right now we do have bear divs on this rise, clear bear divs. And this right here is going to mean nothing at the moment. The bullish divergence isn't going to mean anything at the moment. So you can see in here how we had a squeeze in here on our daily time frame, but you can see how price action continued to push down. And the reason why I did that is because every push up was met with bearish divergence, which is what we're doing right now with SUI. So on the surface, it looks good. It looks like I'm going to open up a leverage trade and I'm just going to make a lot of money. Don't do that. Don't. I am building a spot position because we never know. I can sit here and tell you I see all this bearish divergence. I see a squeeze on the daily time frame. I see a rejection point on the weekly time frame. I see we're going to get a drop on the weekly, and the 3-week is saying the same thing, and the monthly for the first time with the data that we have from the MACD is negative. But the truth is, all we have are probabilities. And the probability is if we continue to put in bear divs like we did in here, we'll continue to slip despite any sort of a squeeze that we see in price action. Any sort of hopium that we're going to get a nice breakout that can be met with a rejection, and we can continue to do this for a while, which is why I'm doing this all spot. So is it time to buy SUI? It is okay, in my opinion, to start a spot accumulation. Now you will be left with the idea that if you buy here, which is what I did, let me turn this on here. Let's just say you even buy from here, and we're looking to come down into here. Let's just drop it all the way down into here. You're risking half of your capital. So it gives you a lot of time to build your bag, which is what I like about it. If this is going to happen, it gives you a lot of time to build your bag. But you need to be sure that you're willing to sit through the possibility of price doing a 50% drop from where it's currently sitting. Okay. Okay. So right now we are beneath the 20 SMA in here. And we know that because we can see that in here. We're not above the blue line in here, or even if you just put your Bollinger Band on, you'll see that we actually did get a rejection from the 20 SMA right there. So you're rejecting from your 20 SMA. Now, the only other thing I can say that I like about this Bollinger is that it kind of makes it pretty clear in terms of it being corrective. As you can see how it's flowing along with price action all the way down to the point where you actually see a pretty decent squeeze in here. So it just flows with it, just like it's still flowing down in here as well until we start to flatten out. And right now this is still dropping. It's not starting to curve out or anything like that. Same thing happened over here until you start to flatten out. We'll start to build some sort of a squeeze in here. But yeah, undoubtedly, this is like going to be your greatest space in here. If you were looking to do spot accumulation again, I think that spot accumulation is fine. I just don't think that it's time for you to be like, okay, I'm going to go leverage in here on SUI. Thinking I'm about to go up here and take out the highs just yet, because there are some bearish signals in here as well. So You just need to know that. What was the other thing I wanted to say to you in here on SUI? Oh, there is this line right here can actually be extended. So we're talking about. I don't really want to call it like 3 taps into this. Let me see. And I did put a little call out note in here just to say, okay, we got bearish divergence in here on the chart right now. It doesn't look the same, right? It doesn't look like we're ready to blast off in here if you look at it from this weekly time frame. So daily time frames sometimes can give us a lot of hopium. Let me just turn these off in here. But you have this channel in here also. And all I did with this channel in here is I dropped it to my line chart and I did the connection here from the line chart. And then I expanded it out to the lowest wick point in here. And so that's what we're going to be watching here on SUI as well, which also basically is in line with those fibs. So where we would get closer to the 786. It's going to be coming back in here and testing this again and possibly not managing to hold it because it looks like we're going to break that 20 SMA this time on that 3-week time frame. It looks like we're going to break that SMA this time. And let me turn off all this noise in here because yeah, it doesn't pair well with this weekly time frame. So map this out on your chart. Make sure you have this if you're into SUI, just this lower trend line in here, because we are going to get that drop. We are going to get it. I don't care if that bounce happens first and we cap out in here. We're going to get the drop on SUI. And I think it's a great time to start a spot accumulation because we just don't know. We just don't know. Maybe it comes back into here. Maybe it bounces from here and it never comes down into here. But the probabilities are we do see it lose this support this time. Let me show you this on the like there really isn't a lot of data in here. Oh, let me take a look at no. I think this was the other thing that I mentioned too, because we are showing our lack of momentum in here. We can see in here where we first started to break away from our high in here, and then where we crossed below the signal line, and of course our bar started to shade out in different colors. In a lighter color, bulls do still have control over the weekly time frame, but that can be snatched away so easily. We're beneath the 20 SMA here on the weekly time frame as well. So yeah. So we do want to watch that. Every other time it happened, I mean, you had this occasion in here where it reversed and came back up and just ranged around a little bit in here, but the formation it's just not the same. It's not the same. Like it is just not the same. The formation is not the same. This formation right here tends to break to the downside. This rising structure in here it's correcting back up, and that correction will be over, and then we'll see a drop in price action, and that's what I'm looking for. So my accumulation zones, again, I bought in here. I will not buy anymore. I don't care if it drops in here and it hits the 786. I will not buy anymore. I will only buy it again when we hit my points of interest, which would be this 262. I will buy there. We lose 262 and we come in here. I will buy again in here. And then this will be my last place that I buy. So I will deploy more to get that average cost down in here. And I'm only willing to do this with SUI because I believe that it is a great project. And it's going to get up to at least $10. And that is the only reason why I'm willing to do this. It's other projects I probably wouldn't do this with, and risk losing money because, I mean, that's the trade-off. You know, you could lose money. Like it's kind of like how, cost right now is not doing what cost used to do. And cost had the same reputation that SUI has right now. And nobody really talks about cost as much anymore. Um, it could also be something like that, but I've seen too many big money players start to take from Solana and put into SUI. So I'm banking on this one, and I'm banking pretty heavy on it. What else was there that I needed to cover in here? Oh, let me. Okay, so that was that. Let's take a look at the RSI in here. So we are underneath. And this can always pop up. That can always pop up. It popped up right here too. So this is not a bad thing. The RSI is not a bad thing. No actual divergence to be had here on the RSI, and I don't think that there was any here on the daily time frame either. The only thing I did notice is this little cloud cover that we have here from the yellow signal line in here. So this is something that can be used, or you can just turn all, well, you probably don't have, yours probably won't have the same signals that I have in mine, but you can always do, something like that. And look for a point where price action comes in, and it's either going to reject from here. And since it's a daily, it requires patience. We'll see if we can't find this on a lower time frame, because you would really end up like kind of waiting for the daily to close to confirm that you actually have that momentum break in here. And if it slips back below, then you'd be waiting to make sure it actually fell back in. And that's what trying to catch a breakout of momentum can be like sometimes. Because the candle has to close to confirm the momentum break. Like it can be temporary, but you can plot this on your RSI. Probably even let's see. So this is a good example. You got a momentum break right here. I mean, you can connect dots everywhere. We all can, right? We know how to draw lines, connect dots. Okay, so you got a momentum break right here, and then you shift it back in. In case you've never done something like this before. It's going to be hard to get it on point. Yeah, it's going to be hard to draw the line on point simply because it's based on the daily. But you got the momentum break in here. I mean, you could have did the trend line across here too. But a lot of times the momentum break will happen faster. So let's just say I did. Let me switch that to here and do it like that. So yeah, that's a better representation of what we got going on right now with that bear div on the rise in here. Doesn't look like we actually have, yeah, we do. We actually do have the bear div here on the RSI as well. So yeah, RSI has the bearish divergence along with the Bollinger percent, also showing that there's a bear div in there. And this is our breakdown here. So we're below the momentum here from this rise in here as well. Anyway, enough about that. I'm not going to sit here and draw these lines out, which is why I have those. Let me just see if we can't. Which is why I don't like this one. I don't like it from here. It's more constructive on the daily time frame than it is in here. But again, bear divs, you see it. You see it. And no, I'm not about to say inverse head and shoulder. Not with these bear divs. I'm not doing it. So, yeah, you can see the bear divs through here. We're not above this point in here. So, rejection, rejection again. And again, no, I don't think that this is some sort of an inverse head and shoulder. I think we do come back in and we actually drop a little bit lower first. I'm gonna put this back on auto. And let me put this back in here. All right, so this may not be too shabby. This may not be too shabby. Just because it's starting to drop in here a little bit. And the 4-hour is currently sitting up against the 20 SMA. So like I said, you can get that little bounce. You want to look for your rejection point, which is going to be here if it does manage to get the break up. Now from this time frame right here, from this perspective right here, if you wanted the leverage trade, you go ahead and just do your damnedest, okay? And maybe that's a possibility. Let me tell you what this number right here is. So 368, so $3.68 or $3.69, somewhere in here. That can also be a rejection point in here. But this is mainly it right here. So this 392, this is what the weekly time frame is giving me. So just be aware of that. If you do start to see a break to the upside, that you will be facing some resistance at 392. And based on what I see on that weekly time frame, if price pushes through that, I'm going to short it. I'm going to short it because it won't make sense. And I'm all about things making sense. It will be a strong imbalance for that to happen with SUI. And the other thing that I'm looking at too is going to be SUI versus BTC. So the dominance there. That is another thing also. I did a little bit of mapping out on this right here. So not, I tried like pairing it with the current price action. It's not. It just didn't do anything for me. Honestly, it didn't do anything for me. So you're not going to have that same structure in here that we have on the weekly time frame with the SUI versus BTC. You're not going to have that in here. You haven't actually even come into the golden pocket or the 786. And I've always said clearly that SUI doesn't tend to have a lot of respect for, but after I really just sat down and studied and didn't BS around with SUI, it actually does. It really does. So in terms of your, and put this on the daily, back on the daily here. You do still have like a wedgie structure in here the same way you do with just SUI USDT or USD chart. You do still have a wedgie structure in here. You're not performing the best against Bitcoin. You do have bear divs in here on this as well. So I don't have the right indicators on here, and that's okay. That's okay. Money flow going out here on the weekly time frame. MACD delta down below the 0 line. That was something that I did not look at on the SUI price action chart. Same cloud cover here as you have on the SUI USD chart. Bear divs in here the same as what you have on the SUI USD chart as well. And then the fib level, you can see where those bubbles are. That's where it's drawn from, that low to that high. And we're sitting at a 4-hour support zone in here right now. We get the bounce out of this 4-hour support zone. There is the VWAP in here. So now VWAP tells a different story in here also. It's very similar to H bar. So I'm just going to take our absolutely lowest point in here. And let me try to spread this open for you as much as I can. So it tells a very similar story to what H bar is doing. So after this humongous pump over here, we are just in a consolidation phase in here right now for SUI versus BTC. So just consolidation phase, which is why your VWAP in here is going absolutely flat throughout this zone in here. It's just absolutely flat, and you're not pushing up above your bandwidth 1. So your bandwidth 1 is sitting in here. You actually didn't even manage to make your way up here to your bandwidth 1 because you've had multiple rejections coming from this zone in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 rejections from within this level in here. So when we do get a breakout here for SUI versus BTC, then the first thing you want to be looking at in here with that is going to be back in here where you have VWAP at, because like I said, you can see, and I can't turn these off because if I do, it's going to turn off the VWAP as well. You can see that I can change the color of the VWAP to make it easier. So let me make it, I'll just make it white. That's easy. So you can see, like I said, VWAP runs flat through here, and you just whipsaw VWAP simply because it's consolidating and it's showing you that there is a consolidation pattern in here. So this would be the first place that I would be looking for in here, the VWAP. And if you can get through, if we start to get through VWAP, then it's going to look a lot better for SUI in terms of price action, really showing us that SUI has some steam. Okay. And so I'll be looking back. I probably wouldn't look up here at bandwidth 1 because we've made no contact with it. I probably just look back here in this zone right in here. You can see the numbers for that in here with all of those zeros. So 3688 to 3869, I will be looking back in here for some sort of rejection. And not just for SUI versus BTC, but also for SUI price action. SUI versus USDT. And then again, the drop in here. Now this is actually coming into your bandwidth 1. And this is held at support about 3 times down through here. So when I see this, really it just takes me back to what I'm saying in here, even though they look totally different, because this low is down here with this one. This would probably be the greatest gift ever. To come back into here. That would probably be the greatest gift ever. And I can already hear all the noise about SUI's performance should something like that happen. But when SUI sells, it sells. And that's a fact. When SUI sells off, SUI sells off. And that'll be the only difference between SUI and Caspa. Is Caspa just completely pump, and did nothing but pump until it finally started to get around and top, and then it got that drop. But SUI actually does have its corrective moments, and when it sells off, it sells off. You look at something over here for SUI, I mean, that's a 78% drop right there. You look at this point right here for SUI, that's a 68% drop right there. And we look at this here, and we ain't even looking for all that, right? I'm just going to take it all the way down here to the low, 62. Let's just say 62. I wouldn't want SUI to come in and hit that. So I'm just going to bring it back up, because each drop was a little bit less. And each time that it did come back into the dynamic cloud or whatever, yeah, each time it did come back into the dynamic cloud. Yeah, so we'll just give it a little bit of overspill in there. So we'll be talking about, like I said, about a 50% drop. About a 50% drop. So let's just say 58. That's 56. This was 68. That's 78. 78, 68, and then we'll just pretend 58 in here. So yeah, you'll be looking somewhere between a 50% drop from that top to here. So if you can bear through that, then yes, it's time to it's time to start building your spot position on SUI. I don't really have much more in this video. That's basically it. Yeah, that's it. So I'm gonna leave you with that to ponder on. I did it live. So whatever my bloopers are, whatever, yeah, I said or didn't say, it's in the universe now. So go back and watch, share, take your notes, and I will see you on